Your farm business has a greatest hits album. You ever thought about that? There are products that you sell that are fan favorites. And today we're going to talk about how to leverage that greatest hits album to grow your revenue. Let's get started. Hey there, this is Corinna Bench, and welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast. In today's market, it's not enough to just grow your product. You've got to know how to sell it too. Welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast, where we reveal online marketing strategies and tips to help farmers like you get better and more confident at marketing. Learn how to find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Let's start the show. Well, welcome to episode 360 of the My Digital Farmer podcast. I'm your host, Corinna Bench, one of the farmers at Shared Legacy Farms out in Elmore, Ohio. I'm also the founder of mydigitalfarmer.com, which is all about trying to help other farmers like you get more confident in your marketing and sales strategy so that you can grow a profitable business. How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to the show. A big shout out to my regular listeners. If you are new to the show, thanks for checking me out today. I hope you enjoy it. Subscribe to the podcast. And if you're kind of new when it comes to the marketing lingo, I really encourage you to go check out my first 10 episodes because I designed them many years ago for the future. I designed them to be an on-ramp into the marketing lingo for people like you who just kind of need to get onboarded into what we're talking about here and learn the ropes and the fundamentals fast. So another way you can do that is to get onto my email list. You can subscribe for free at mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. When you do, I'm going to send you an email like every 4 or 5 days for about 3 months, and I'm going to walk you through the marketing jungle and share with you some key fundamental principles, little by little. Everything builds on each other. I point you to the really good podcasts from my archives. I share some resources and tips and trainings, a lot of free stuff, templates. It's another great resource. So mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. I'd love to have you in my community. Today's podcast is sponsored by my friends at LocalLine. If you run a CSA or you sell direct or wholesale, or you manage both, LocalLine helps you simplify your operations and scale with confidence. I love this platform. In 2025, farms and food hubs using LocalLine grew their sales by 33%. Average order values increased by 31%, and total order count grew by 9%. That is real results across operations of all sizes. LocalLine brings everything together into one platform. So CSA management, wholesale ordering, access to new wholesale opportunities. They have automated inventory, barcode scanning, a box builder. They even have a POS. And that means you spend less time managing admin and more time growing your business. Switching couldn't be easier. There are no setup fees, no sales commissions, and their onboarding team will even migrate your storefront for free, taking the workload off your plate. As a podcast listener, you'll get one premium feature free for a full year when you use the code MDF2026 at checkout. So head to mydigitalfarmer.com/LocalLine, all one word, then use that code MDF2026 and you'll get that discount. Start the season strong with LocalLine. It's streamlined, efficient, and built for growth. And now back to the show. Okay, before we jump into today's episode, I want to do something a little fun. I know a lot of you have told me that you love my podcast intro music. I love it too. I mean, I get messages about it and people bring it up. It's really got a vibe, right? But here's something you may not know. When you create a podcast, you actually have to go out and find the music. You license it from a composer. You pay for the rights so that you get to use it in your show. And then you typically just take a small clip from the full track. So what you hear at the beginning of my podcast every week, and actually at the end, that's just a tiny slice of a much longer piece of music. And I was thinking, you know what? That would be kind of fun to share, like the whole clip. So today, if you're willing, I'm giving you a little bonus at the very end of this episode. Stick around to the very end. I will play the entire track for you of my podcast music, the full version, start to finish, and maybe you can pick out where I've pulled the clip from. Just because I know some of you are into it, and I thought it would be a little fun behind the scenes moment. So just wait for the end when I say goodbye and I do my whole spiel, and then just hang out for a couple seconds and then you'll hear the whole track. It'll just be a little bonus. Okay, speaking of music, let's transition. What is your favorite band? Maybe you have one or two. It's kind of hard for me to land on one, but if I really had to, who do you think my favorite band is? And no, for our marketing school members, it is not Duran Duran. It used to be Duran Duran when I was younger. I was obsessed with them. I had posters and everything. No, my favorite band is the Indigo Girls. I love them. I own every single one of their albums. I even have most of them on CDs. I have followed them for years. I go to their concerts when they come around my area. I know their deep cuts. I know their obscure songs. I even sang in a band in high school, and a lot of the covers that we did were Indigo Girls. I'm kind of a lower alto voice, so I would sing the lower part a lot of the times. I'm a real fan. And here's the thing, the reason I'm starting out kind of with this story is that even though I own all of their music, all of their CDs, anything they put out, I'm a super fan and I'll go buy it. The album that I reach for the most, the one that I play the most digitally now, that I put on repeat, is actually, what do you think? I wonder if this is the same for you too. It's their greatest hits album. Isn't that interesting? Out of all the choices, all the songs, I go back to the one that just delivers the favorites, the one where all my favorites have been curated into one place. I don't even have to make the playlist. These are the songs I know that I love, the ones that I love to belt out to in my car or in my farm truck. They hit me every time. I don't have to even think about it. I just press play and they just wash over me. And I was thinking about this the other day as I was listening to it. The greatest hits album. That's basically a bestsellers list, isn't it? It's all of the proven winners from their different albums all in one place. So whenever you produce a new record, the producers are kind of listening to the singles and they're making decisions about which ones they're going to release and which ones they think are going to be the next big hits. And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but usually in every album there's at least one song that kind of becomes a favorite from that album. And if you've produced enough albums over time, like you've got quite a few of these favorite songs that develop for your fans. And when you have enough albums, you can eventually assemble a greatest hits album, packaged in a way that's easy for your super fans to just say yes, right? And I was thinking about this concept of a greatest hits album, how it's very similar to a bestsellers list. And I thought to myself, I wonder how many farmers don't have this, like a bestsellers list. Or if they do, they're not really intentionally using it. And so today I want to talk about the power of your greatest hits album, because you have one. Why your bestsellers list might be your most underutilized sales tool. Have you ever thought about that? And I want to challenge us to think today about how could we use that bestsellers list, that greatest hits album, to drive more revenue into our pockets without necessarily having to grow a whole lot more stuff. Some of us don't need to be creating a ton more products. We just need to sell our greatest hits a little better. And when I go out to restaurants with my family and we're presented with a menu, so this is like for what I would call fancier restaurants, not like chain restaurants, one of a kind places where I am not familiar with the menu, where it changes seasonally. Or if I go on vacation with my kids, we're going to a place we've never been to. We like to find local restaurants. And we get these menus that have all kinds of amazing things on them. I'm reading the ingredients that are going to be in there. And I, especially now with my dietary restrictions, I have to really know what exactly is in this meal. So we're looking at the descriptions. And a lot of times, like, they all sound so good. And I'll ask the waiter, I'm sure you've done this too, hey, help me out here. Like, help me with my overwhelm. What are the good items on the menu? Like, what do you recommend? Or what do people like to buy here? What are your best sellers? I will ask that because sometimes I just have so many choices and it looks really good in writing, but maybe that's not actually the fan favorite. Maybe that's not the one that people who are truly local, who come here a lot, have discovered is the best meal. So I ask for a little bit of social proof help from the waiter, and they'll always tell me, like, well, this one or this one. They usually give me a couple options, and that narrows it down for me, right? It helps me know these are both going to be winners. Which one sounds better to you? And then I'll confidently choose one of those, and they're always right. And so there's really something powerful that happens when you can present your customers or your potential customers with a shortened, curated list of here are the favorites. It removes a lot of the decision fatigue, the hemming and hawing, the pressure. Sometimes I think people can't decide and they're so overwhelmed they just don't even purchase, or they only they choose something and they're not like fully behind it. They don't feel great about it or confident about it. And so that affects how that transaction feels. But if you can say, look, these are the favorites, and you say it with confidence, it builds this trust. Because what you're really saying is, hey, you don't have to figure this out. Other people already have. Here are the best sellers. Here's the greatest hits album. And this is exactly why, big brands do this super well. I'm going to always pick on Amazon because even though I don't love their philosophy, like, they are very good at what they do. And they have a best sellers tab. Or when you're scoping around for a particular product, it will give you all the different brands, versions of that product, and it will put a little badge label on the one that is the best seller. And that will often be a cue to us, like, hey, this is the one people like. This is also the case in big box stores or department stores. They've got their top picks as well. They're constantly guiding you towards the proven winners, like a yellow brick road. And, meanwhile, over here in like small business land, and I'm raising my hand here a little bit too, on farms, we're kind of like, oh, yeah, here are 47 vegetables. Good luck shopping. I'm totally laughing because this is me. Like, this is me. I don't always organize things or make it clear where to start, right? And before you feel called out, let's just name why this happens. Because, I see this in myself. I see it in a lot of other farmers that I'm coaching with. We think, well, everything is seasonal. This is what I tell myself. So it changes. It's hard for me to say I've always got a bestseller available. I don't know if you've used this excuse, but I have. I don't have time to go and analyze my data. I just sort of have a feeling that I know what my bestsellers are. Sometimes I'll just say, look, I'm just selling what I harvest. Like, that's what I decided to to take out of the field. And so here you go. Or I sometimes feel like, well, I don't want to sound repetitive and say, here's that head lettuce again, even though those are what fly off the shelf. So I feel like we have some excuses that we bring into the room for why we don't point to our best sellers more often and make use of this greatest hits album concept. But here's the shift that I want to just bring back into the space. I've said this before, but I want to remind you that you are not just a producer. You're not just a grower. You are a guide in your customer's heroic journey. They're trying to solve a problem using your product, or they have a deep desire that your product is going to help them fulfill, and it's going to transform them and change them and make them a better version of themselves, right? That's what they're looking for. They're coming to you because they think you can help them. They are overwhelmed. They don't know what to pick from your product suite. They don't know what's good. They don't know what's the easiest starting point. So they want you to help them. Remember that you are the guide, and you really have to embrace that mantle as part of being a salesperson. You can't just be the producer and drop everything on the table. So how do you identify your best sellers? I have a feeling that most of you know how to do this, but I am going to briefly touch on this, especially if you're kind of new as a business owner. You may not have taken the time to think about this yet. So let's make this really simple. If I told you right now, write down your top 5 best-selling products, could you do it? And I bet most of you probably could get in the ballpark. But if you want to be precise, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go into your reports section of your online store, if you do sales online, and I want you to look for answers to a few simple questions. What products generated the most total revenue last season? Do you know that? What products sold the highest quantity? Sometimes that's a little bit different. What products show up on orders over and over again? And what items consistently sell out first? And that's your greatest hits album starting to form right there. I want to really encourage you to go and actually look at the data, because I sort of fell into that hole a few years ago where I was like, no, I know what it is. I know what my list is. And I don't even know what spurred me to finally go and run a report at the end of the year. It wasn't for that purpose. I was doing it for something else. But as I was looking at the data, I remember noticing, whoa, yeah, all those things that I knew were bestsellers, there they were at the top of the list. But there were a couple of things that were also on the list that I had not thought of, that were just not on my radar. And so I was glad that I had done that work and seen the data, because now those 2 other items are things that I think about more intentionally when I'm selling. And I wouldn't have before because I just thought I knew. Well, those were 2 that apparently I didn't pick up on. So as you're building this list, you're looking for your easiest yeses, your crowd pleasers, your gateway products, the things that make people fall in love with you. And here's another one that people don't think about. What do customers ask for when it's gone? That's usually another clue. Like what are the emails that you get? What happened to that salad dressing, Krina? Are you going to have more of that bacon next week? Right? That's data. That shows you that there is demand for that product. Today's podcast is sponsored by Farm Marketing School, my monthly membership for farmers. Before we dive back into the episode, I want to speak to a very specific kind of farmer for a second. If you're a year or 2 into your business and things are working, but your marketing still feels kind of scattered, Like you're posting, you're sending some emails, you're running promotions, but it all feels disconnected and you're not sure what's actually driving sales. I just want to say that's not a lack of effort. That's just a lack of structure. Because most farmers don't need more ideas. What they need is a system that connects everything together. And that's exactly why I built Farm Marketing School. Inside, I teach you how to actually design your marketing so that it works like a machine, a system, not a bunch of random tactics. We map out your full customer journey. We build your email engine. We create intentional promotions and product pathways. So your marketing starts handing off from one piece to the next like a relay race instead of you running every leg yourself. And we do it through 30-day project builds. So you're not just learning about marketing, you're actually finishing things. You're actually building the marketing assets in your marketing machine, your sales funnel, your promotions, your lead magnet, your weekly email rhythm, all your marketing assets. And that's when the shift happens. Marketing starts to feel lighter. The flywheel starts to spin. Sales start to feel more predictable. And you finally feel like, okay, I'm on the right track. I know what I'm doing. If that's what you've been longing for and what you've been missing, then I want to invite you to join Farm Marketing School just for a month. Come inside and see what it's all about. You can learn more at mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. And now, back to the show. Now, how do you use the Greatest Hits album when it comes to marketing? What are you doing with this information to help you sell? All right, well, let's talk about email marketing, which is like my favorite thing in the world. This is how every time I send an email, I make money, which is why I spend so much time trying to teach farmers how to do that well inside of Farm Marketing School. So in your weekly emails, especially in the main season, you can be telling them what your best sellers are. Either, if the email is just a flat out promotional email and that's all that it's about, like sell, 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 you're talking about the best sellers that are there that week. Or maybe there's just one particular item that's in season that is a bestseller right then, and you're going to just focus on the one bestseller in your email. But you could spotlight that and give it its own focus in your weekly email. And then point to the place where they can pre-order and then pick it up at the farmer's market, or maybe they're going to an online store. Now, I also want to mention the nurture email sequence because this is like the power workhorse in my business. A lot of people will come into Farm Marketing School, honestly, for that project so that they can learn how to write that. It is so powerful when you get that set up. A nurture email sequence is an automated sequence that you write in advance. You write it one time and you build it inside of your email service provider. It's usually 5 emails that drop out every 4 days, 3 to 4 days, right after someone initially subscribes to your email list. So this is a warm lead. They've shown interest in your brand. They've maybe downloaded a lead magnet. And they're actually pretty excited to start getting emails from you right away for a couple of weeks every 4 days because they are interested in you. And when you start giving them these little emails with tips and nuggets of information, or maybe you share your backstory and your values and stuff about your business and how it relates to them, or you give some sort of tip, like they love this stuff. They eat it up. And one of the things that you can put in this nurture email sequence is a teaser of some of your best-selling products. You can kind of point to them. I always tell people don't use the nurture sequence to sell. It's really meant to build awareness and create hunger for what you do and what you sell. And maybe the last email in that sequence is where you actually give them a chance to go and purchase something and you pitch your first gateway offer, which is often something from your Greatest Hits album. Sometimes I will encourage farmers to surreptitiously focus on one of the best sellers in one of their emails, like maybe it comes up as the topic in the email, like you're talking about it sort of anecdotally, and people become aware that you sell this cool thing, but you don't necessarily say, here, go buy it. You're just talking about it. And now people are like, oh, that sounds really neat. I want to maybe purchase that. It just gives them food for thought. Okay, so the weekly email, the nurture email are places where you start pointing to the bestseller, because the greatest hits album is often the gateway product. It's often the door into your brand because it's an easy yes. Now, the website, the farm website, or your store website homepage, because sometimes those are two different things, is another place that you can be highlighting your greatest hits album. I always encourage people on the store, actually also on your website homepage, you can have a pancake stack or a section in there. I call them pancake stacks because there's visually, if you were to look at the entire homepage of a website, there are these visual elements that stack on top of each other. So one of those sections is often the bestsellers section, where it might be your top 3 bestsellers with a picture and then a call to action button that takes them right to that product in the online store if they clicked on it, and they could read more there. But it shows them kind of visually, like, these are the things that everyone wants. So imagine you're a brand new person to the brand, you come to the website, you're already sort of interested in this general product line, and then you see these 3 doors into the brand, and each of them are things that look amazing and that you would want. So I always tell people, have a bestseller section definitely on your online store page. Name it the bestseller section, right? Put it high up on the page. It shouldn't be buried down at the bottom. Make it easy for people to click and buy. Have a nice big bright colored brand button, because that is literally the entry point for those new clients. Another way you can do this is to add product badges that say bestseller on the store listing. And some online platforms will actually create almost like a badge, or it'll be a bright colored line that goes across the top of the image that says bestseller. And so a person can visually see it. It stands out and pops. Those are called product badges. And that sets it apart from the other things. And a lot of times people will say, oh, well, I'm going to go there because it says bestseller, so that must be the best version. Let's talk about blogs. If you still blog on your website, like I do, or maybe you have a vlog, maybe you have a YouTube channel where you are posting videos fairly frequently, you could be featuring your bestseller list, your greatest hits album, or one of the things from your greatest hits album in that blog, where you talk all about it, how it's produced, how it's best utilized in the kitchen, etc. Either in written form or in video form. So this is another way to be pointing to your greatest hits album. And then, of course, make it easy for them to figure out how to click and go and purchase that thing if their appetite is now whetted by this amazing YouTube video. Social media is another obvious place that you can be highlighting your greatest hits album. So posts like, if you're new, start here. Like, don't word it that way, but essentially once a week having some kind of a post that assumes you have new people who have just entered your funnel and are seeing your stuff for the first time. Like, you constantly need to be pointing to, hey, this is where you start. This is where you start. Actually, they just did this at my church this past weekend. I'm recording this on the Tuesday after Easter. And Easter Sunday is always a day when the church is really full with people because they'll bring their families, or you'll have people that just come for Easter and Christmas. And I noticed that our pastor mentioned how next week, so the following Sunday, he announced to everyone, hey, if you're new here, we're really glad you're here. If you want to learn more about what we're doing here, next week is an opportunity to come and do that, because we're having a special meeting between the services. He didn't call it a meeting. It was called something like Starting Point, I think is what they named it. And he's like, we have Starting Point, which is happening next week for 20 minutes. You can come and just meet us and ask us questions. We have a little presentation to kind of talk about some of the things that we do here. And so they do this like once a month. They have something called Starting Point because there are always new people coming into the church who are checking it out. And if they are now kind of ready to get more engaged, the organization has created a mechanism, a moment in time, where we invite them to come and start the journey. Start here, right? Start here. So what does that look like for us when we're using social media? Like we have a moment here to say, okay, all of you who've been checking us out, come start here. This is the point. Buy this product. This is the first one you should get because you know that it's a winner. There is all kinds of repetitive content that could be showing up in your social media. You should be pointing to all of your bestsellers regularly. If there's a bestseller coming up in like a month from now, start talking about it. You can even say, get on my email list if you want to find out when this next greatest hits is going to be around, right? When this next bestseller is going to be around. We're doing that right now with our asparagus because we know it's so popular. It's going to start come and do here in the next week or two. And for the last few weeks, I have been posting pictures of asparagus from last year saying, if you want this stuff, get on my email list because it's only around for 3 weeks and then it's gone. So it can become a lead generating tool. Let the bestseller drive your social media content for the week too, especially those seasonal items. You can just be telling stories about it, how it's harvested, how it's packed. Maybe the next day it's a different perspective of that story or a different angle. Just keep talking about the bestseller and creating an appetite for it. I always take lots of pictures of my bestsellers and I put them in like a Google folder of my greatest hits album. That way, when the next season comes around, like asparagus season, and I don't have the asparagus growing yet, I can pull from those resources from last year and start pointing to those bestsellers. All right, let's talk about offers. This is another way you can use the bestsellers list. When we create offers, now remember there's a difference between a product and an offer. A product is just the thing itself. An offer is how you're positioning it. And one way that you can use the bestsellers is to bundle them, like the Greatest Hits album does. They take all the individual singles that were great hits and stick them all together into one package, and people buy that album. Okay, so what does that look like for your business? Can you create bundles of your greatest hits? So it's a bestsellers box. It could be a starter pack, the chicken starter pack. The farmer's favorites bundle, or it could just be a special offer around one of your bestsellers that week that's using some other different offer formula. So maybe it's watermelon season starting, and I'm going to create a special offer that really just talks all about the watermelon. It's trying to get people to buy the watermelon, to go to the store for the watermelon. And then, of course, while they're there, they're going to put other things in their cart. I think I talked about this a few weeks ago when I did a podcast about my spring plant sale. But we created a 10-pack product of our 10 best-selling transplants in the plant sale. And that did really well. It drew up our average order value a fair amount. And the reason I came up with that was because I realized that we have new people coming into our business, kind of new gardeners who are excited, who want to do this well. And they're a little overwhelmed when they see the 55 different options. And they may not know, well, which is the best tomato? I don't know. And so for me to just say, listen, get the San Marzano your first year. Like that's the classic. Like I just help with that decision fatigue. They feel really good. They feel like, oh, this is the one my farmer recommends. My farmer knows what she's doing. She knows how to grow things. Or I should say my husband knows how to grow things. And so they feel better about that purchase. So helping ease the confusion, especially for something like that, that can be really helpful. I want to add one more place where this bestsellers list can become powerful, and that is your farmer's market booth or anywhere that you have a human being selling for you. Maybe it's a roadside stand. Because here's what I see happening a lot. A customer will walk up to your stand, they look at the table, and there's sort of like this freeze reaction because they don't know what to pick. I mean, it's beautiful and there's all these gorgeous colors and you've done a great job of, pile them high, stack them high, whatever, watch them fly. And there's contrasting colors and it's just gorgeous. But they don't know which one is good. Like which of those beets are really good if I'm going to get beets, or which of the different tomatoes is the one that I actually want for how I'm going to use it. And I guess I want to ask, does your staff step in? Like, does your staff know what to say? Have you coached them on how to help these kinds of customers? Right? A lot of times it's just a simple, hey, let me know if you have any questions. That's what we kind of coach people to say. And it's okay, but I feel like it's a little bit of a missed opportunity because this is where your bestsellers list can become almost like a training tool. I think your team, your sales team, if it's not you, should know your greatest hits by heart. They should be prepared. And if it switches from week to week, then you need to tell them that before they head off to the market. Like you've got a little cheat sheet or you've talked to them and you're like, listen, this is what we're pushing today. These are the best sellers in case they don't know. Like they should know the top 5, no hesitation. And instead of like waiting for questions from the customer, they should guide. They should recommend. So the interaction should sound more like, hey, if you don't know where to start, these are our top sellers right over here, right? And point. Or our customers cannot get enough of this sweet corn, and those cherry tomatoes are flying off the shelf today, right? Little phrases like that just help them get started. Or, hey, if you're new, I would start with these 3 things because they're surefire winners and they're really easy to use. Right? Do you feel the difference? One is kind of just passive. Hey, let me know if you need any help. And one is stepping in as a thought leader. And so here's what happens when your team is consistently recommending the same products again and again. You're starting to train your customers. And those items become known as the place to start. They become habitual purchases. So don't just create the bestsellers list for the sake of your website or your emails. Create it for your team and then train it into them and practice it and make it a part of how you sell, so that you are helping people decide. Okay, so before I wrap up, I want to make sure that you're seeing this. Your greatest hits products are basically functioning as a magnet. Are you picking up on that? It's what's getting people in the door. It's getting people to say yes, pulling them into your booth, getting them to stop the scroll. It's what gets that first item into the cart. And then once we've pulled them in, once they're standing at the table, once they've clicked or they've added that thing to their cart, that first thing, there's an opportunity. Now we can really guide them. We can help build the whole order. We can say, hey, if you're getting this, you might also want this. That's the cross-sell. Because let's not forget the bigger goal here. I don't talk enough about this. There are really only 2 or 3 ways that we grow revenue on the farm. And for the sake of this conversation, the top 2 are we increase how much people are spending in one transaction. We're trying to increase the amount that's going into the cart. The other way that we can grow revenue is increasing how often people come back again and buy, right? The repeat buyers, the order frequency. Those are the 2 big levers you have to pull. So your best sellers, they're not just popular products. They are the entry point. They are the thing that opens the door. Then your job is to help them walk further in. to say, hey, if you're grabbing the sweet corn, you should grab the tomatoes too. If you're getting the ground beef, let me show you the burger bundle. Do you know about this? Or if you're buying that salad mix, this is a dressing that everyone pairs with it. It is so good, right? Do you feel that shift? So we're not just selling one item, we're helping them build a bigger cart. We're helping them build a bigger cart. And that leads to an increase in average order value, an increase in order frequency, an increase in customer revenue for the year. So I really want you to hear this. You don't need to constantly, come up with new ideas for products or reinvent the wheel every month. You already have proof of what works. Your customers have told you. Your bestsellers list is simply you saying, hey, let me make this easy for you. I know what everybody likes. So here's your homework this week. If you haven't ever done this, I want you to spend some time researching what are your top 5 bestsellers and put them down, write it down, put it somewhere visible, and then figure out how you can talk about it at least once in your marketing channels this week, whether it's in social media, whether you're going to make a video and put it on YouTube, whether you're going to put it in your email or add it somewhere on your store. Keep playing those greatest hits songs. You've earned it. Those are the ones everyone wants to sing. All right, my friends, that's all I've got today. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. You can get the show notes today at mydigitalfarmer.com/360. If you liked this episode, please go leave me a rating or a review or share the episode with a friend. You can text them the link. Trying to get as many people as possible to find out about this incredible resource library. There are so many great archived episodes of farm marketing help, and I would love for people to just stumble upon them and find the ones that are going to help them, they're going to serve them. So help me get the word out. Remember, if you want to get onto my email list and have a curated, guided experience through the jungle of farm marketing, I have some free stuff to send you to make your marketing better and more clear and help you just understand it better. You can subscribe for free at mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. If you need a little bit more hand-holding, I want to welcome you into Farm Marketing School. That's my online membership. You can join month to month this coming season. If you need some help with sales or getting unstuck as you're trying to sell this summer, I'm there for you. So I'd love to have you be in my community. You can learn more at mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. Have an amazing week. And remember, I believe in you. Bye-bye. All right, as promised, here's the full clip of my podcast audio. Enjoy.